the sannyas according to Varnashrama is practically not possible in Kali Yuga. Scriptures say in Kali Yuga, 5 things are forbidden. Ashwamedham, Gabalambham, Sanyasam, Palapaitrikam, Devarena Sutotpatti, Kalau Pancha Vivarjayat. 5 things are forbidden in Kali Yuga. One of them is sannyas, accepting sannyas. So, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting this verse and telling sannyas is forbidden, that's what he's teaching us. But at the same time, he himself accepted sannyas. And after him, even his followers, they have accepted sannyas. Even during his time, one Gadadhar Pandit, we have Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara. So Gadadhara is one of the very intimate associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Sankirtan movement. So in Gadadhar Pandit accepted Tridanda sannyas, regular sannyas. So after that, so many followers of Chaitanya have accepted sannyas. So how is it justified when sannyas is forbidden in Kali Yuga? So the sannyas which is forbidden in Kali Yuga is a Varnashrama system that recommends that for spiritual life, one has to go through 4 different stages of spiritual development. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So the perfection of spiritual life is when one progressively makes advancement in spirituality or spiritual life by going through these 4 stages. Ideally, 100 years of human form of life is divided into 4 parts, 25 years. So first 25 years, student life, following the rules of celibacy, brahmacharya. So generally that was done in the Vedic times, going to a Gurukula. And then at the age of 25, after the Gurukul education has come to some stage of completion, then the spiritual master, the Guru, he asked that 25-year-old brahmachari, do you want to enter grihastha and family life, or you want to continue to remain a brahmachari and pursue spiritual life without getting into family life? So the choice is given, and according to the choice that brahmachari makes, he enters grihastha or he continues remaining a brahmachari. If he continues remaining a brahmachari, he is called a naishtika brahmachari. That means he never marries and he maintains the rules of celibacy. He continues. And he remains with the Guru, and he need not follow any of the rules, obviously, of grihastha or vanaprastha. Vanaprastha is after one enters grihastha, then one retires from all family duties, family responsibilities, and one actually goes to the forest or a holy place or goes for some tirtha yatra, and then at that stage of vanaprastha, one hands over responsibility of family and all the responsibilities in family life to his grown-up son or some other guardian. And then he may take his wife with him, or he may leave the wife with his sons or with the other guardians. So in either case, he is not interested anymore in social interaction, in any sort of family functions or any of those things. He's going to only focus on spiritual activities. That's vanaprastha. So vanaprastha stage is a preparation for sannyas. So ideally 25 years of brahmacharya, 25 years grihastha life, and at the age of 50, Shastra says, one must leave home and go to the forest. Panchashordhvam vanam vrajet means one must accept vanaprastha ashrama if one is serious about spiritual life. So those who remain in grihastha ashrama or remain with family after 50 years of age, that's after typically one retires from all family responsibilities and duties, they are considered to be very attached to sense enjoyment, and therefore their chances of perfecting their spiritual life is very bleak. Very bleak if they don't accept some austerity for detachment from family, from social life, everything. So vanaprastha is a necessary stage before one accepts sannyas. But one who is a Naishtika brahmachari, he need not accept vanaprastha because he has no engagement, he has no family duties, he has no family responsibilities. So he directly accepts sannyas. Directly accepts sannyas. This is the Vedic culture. Now in Kali Yuga, this Vedic culture doesn't work. Like where is that Gurukul system? Even if it was there, it was merely some education for the sake of earning livelihood. For the sake of earning livelihood. So now education is only reduced to that. Only for sake of earning livelihood, we undergo some training and some education. But the real purpose of brahmacharya is not merely to get some education for some earning livelihood, but for getting that initial foundation of spirituality. So become serious about spiritual life, which is only possible, the spiritual life practice only possible in human form of life. So in human form of life, this brahmacharya training is absolutely essential. Otherwise, if one doesn't have the brahmacharya training, one grows up, then simply becomes involved in materialistic way of life after one enters family life, and then it's simply a life of sense gratification. According to scriptures, a life of sense gratification is animal life. Animals, what do? They are only engaged in satisfying their senses through eating, sleeping, mating and defending. 4 common activities for all living beings. So human beings nowadays are reduced to only these 4 activities. That's all they have. Nothing else. So coming to the point of sannyas, then why sannyas? Now, the sannyas according to varnashrama is practically not possible in Kali Yuga. Because there is no brahmachari training. And even family life, they don't take up the spiritual duties of a grihastha. There are spiritual duties for the grihastha. A grihastha, a householder, has to himself practice spiritual life, according to scriptures, and also has to guide his wife and children who are dependent on him in spiritual practices. He should do his duty of guiding them, of teaching them, of training them. They may or may not be interested, but he has to do his duty. Now, which grihastha, generally family people, they are not interested in spiritual life themselves. And they are not doing their duties, even if they may be interested. They'll say, oh, my children are not interested, so I don't force them. So this has become the norm now. So in Kali Yuga, because brahmacharya, grihastha, and there is no vanaprastha ashram at all, doesn't exist. So therefore, there is no question of anybody accepting sannyas. So that kind of sannyas is forbidden. Now the sannyas we accept, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted, is purely for the sake of preaching Krishna consciousness, exclusively engaged as a service, spiritual service, in preaching Krishna consciousness. Whereas brahmacharis, grihasthas and vanaprasthas, of course we don't have a vanaprastha ashram as such in Kali Yuga, because it's not practical. So brahmacharis and grihasthas, they cannot follow all the rules and regulations. Neither can they be dedicated for preaching Krishna consciousness. Because brahmacharya stage, they are getting trained up. They themselves are students. And grihastha ashram, though they may be engaged in little preaching, but they have got the family responsibility. And they got the responsibility of maintaining themselves by earning an honest livelihood. So they cannot be dedicated for preaching. Both the brahmacharis and grahasthas cannot be. So only the sannyasis can be dedicated for preaching. And sannyasis are meant for actually traveling and preaching. Traveling and preaching. So accepting sannyas is not exactly for the sake of renouncing or cutting off all the attachments. It is more for it's actually only for exclusively engaging in preaching Krishna consciousness. So this sort of sannyas is actually the very purpose of somebody being a full-time missionary in the Sankirtan movement. So in Krishna consciousness movement, Hare Krishna movement, not only the sannyasis preach exclusively, but any full-time missionary, apart from his or her practice, they are also engaged only in preaching activity. They don't even bother to maintain themselves by earning a livelihood. That is taken care of by the institution or by the society. So in Krishna conscious movement, actually, the sannyasis alone are not exclusively engaged in preaching. Even the brahmacharis are engaged only in preaching or supporting the preaching. So in that sense, everyone in the Hare Krishna movement who is a full-time missionary is a sannyasi by action. That's what Prabhupada explains. But formal dress of a sannyasi is worn by somebody who accepts sannyas diksha.